Welcome to a special episode of the Central Pennsylvania Music Podcast, featuring the Menzingers.
We're here with Tom from the Menzingers. Tom, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Of course.
Here we are.
We're looking forward to it, man. This is awesome. You guys are playing your last show here in the States before heading out to Europe. We were talking a little bit before we went on air here, and you said this is going to be probably your 15th time going over there?
Probably. We'd have to check, but, we've been going once or twice a year for the past 12, 13 years, and so it would be that many times.
That's crazy.
That's amazing. Like, we were talking off camera. Dude, not many kids get to have the dream of being in a band from a small town, Scranton, Pennsylvania, and then they go after said dream, achieve said dream, and now they get to tour in, like, London, Germany. I mean, you guys have gone to Australia as well. I mean, like, you guys have seen the world doing what you love.
Yeah, it's incredible, and I would say, sometimes we forget or we, take it for granted, but that's absolutely not true. It's completely insane to me every time that we get to go. It's wild as hell to get on an international flight with all of our best friends. There's like 9 of us now. Fly over, get to tour all these places. We have friends that we've known for a decade in some of the places. Like, it's really an incredible thing.
So you guys like literally hit them up, like, hey man, like we're gonna be in London, like whatever, and they're like, oh yeah, so excited to meet up.
Yeah, sure. Especially now with how easy it is, social media wise, to keep in touch. Using WhatsApp or anything like that. It's fucking awesome.
That's cool. That's great, awesome, man. So I mean, I gotta imagine the first time you did that, 15 years ago, had to have been like a little bit nerve-wracking, right?
I don't know if I would call it maybe nerve-wracking a little bit. That's not how I remember it, at least. I remember it as being just completely wild, fun, and free because we didn't have a cell phone that worked there. We didn't have a connection to anything, and we were just kind of gone. We had put our lives and the time that we were there into the arms of strangers who are still some of our best friends, like Kieran Kelly and the Leagues Apart guys. This is when we went to the UK for the first time, and we just made so many lifelong friends and experienced so many movie-like things. So many songs came out of it. It was a fucking wild ride.
That's awesome.
So you literally just you had no choice but to simply exist, like, in the moment.
Basically,
because there was nothing to connect you to anything outside of the moment that you were currently living.
Yeah, I think we had a smartphone, or if not, somebody had a laptop or whatever, and we would use Wi-Fi to connect to things. And actually, it's funny, when we first got there, it was in English, like it was a faux pas in the States, but in England, you'd meet somebody for 5 seconds, and then it would add you on Facebook. So it was like, back then, I guess it may be more common now or whatever, but back then, it was a wild thing. It was pretty great.
You're like, hey, do you know where the one coffee? Like, yeah, it's right down there to the left, and you take another right.
Yeah, and then you go
like,
online,
ding!
you ping. Yeah,
like,
that was it. Hell yeah,
that's wild. I didn't even know it worked like that back then, like proximity sensing wise.
No, it didn't automatic. Like, they just looked up your name.
It wasn't. Wow,
really
creepy.
No, I was gonna say slightly creepy, but
but it's totally normal there.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So I guess back to the U.S. So you formed in Scranton in 2006, correct?
Yeah, basically. I think 2005 was the first time we practiced, and then started to play shows in 2006.
Okay, and you said shortly after that you guys moved from Scranton to Philly.
Yeah, we moved to Philadelphia in 2008.
Okay, man. So I guess you kind of played a lot out in the Philadelphia music scene. I'm sure that was a great way to get a start out there, right?
Yeah, it was kind of a perfect storm of different things. We moved down there. It was right at the beginning of the Great Recession. So it kind of, long story short, there were a lot of house venues and a lot of non-traditional kind of shows and things to do and play. And I think that really brought a real sense of camaraderie and community within all the bands that we were friends with, and we ended up hanging out and living together and working, and that kind of allowed us to reach out to a bunch of bands in other cities, and then kind of went from there.
So the hard times brought you guys all together, huh?
For sure, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, you definitely, adversity helps you grow, for sure.
And it's funny because at the time we didn't even think of it as adversity. It was like, oh, our friends with bachelor's degrees can't get jobs, but whatever. I don't know anything else.
We're gonna roll with it.
Yeah. It's not like we had anything that we lost,
Is there anything that you would say like specific that's like different or like unique to the Philadelphia music scene compared to like other places you've seen? Like anything specific about your home scene compared to anywhere else?
Yeah, I don't know about anything that's completely different, but it takes some parts of other scenes and they're accentuated or bigger or smaller there. Like, for instance, most of the major independent booking and promotion companies and venues in the States were overtaken by Live Nation and AEG pretty quickly. And a lot of that's happened in Philadelphia now, but R5 Productions was a big holdout in that kind of area for a long time. And there was a really, great scene that employed a bunch of our friends and kind of introduced us to other bands, and it, that kind of, I don't call it a vibe, but I guess it was, that definitely lent itself to growing as a band. And I mean, Philadelphia it exists in a perfect place geographically. It's only hour and a half or 2 hours from so many major cities. We originally wanted to move to New York, and it was way too expensive. Yeah. Philadelphia was not that expensive, and so many of our friends were there, and we had family connections, and it just became a beautiful place to be. And we're still there. We all live in South Philadelphia within walking distance of each other, and we have, we're like starting families and shit. We have no plans to uproot anywhere else.
That's so
that
cool.
is, dude. That is not only are you achieving said musical dream that most kids have, but you literally created a dream. You achieved that. That dream has solidified what other people would love to be able to do. It's I wish I could just get my whole group of core friends and just live within walking distance, with our families, and we grow up and we're 2 doors down. It's you're oh, I'm doing that too.
Yeah.
I have done that. That's awesome.
That's thank you. It's really amazing. It's actually kind of how we were able to do it, I think. And one thing that separated us from a lot of other bands and some of our friends, besides being really lucky, and staying together, but all 4 of us had the same idea in place of what we wanted to do, and we were on the same page, which I feel a lot of people, I don't know if you noticed, in creative endeavors or not, have no idea what's going on because they don't talk about it. But we were on the same page, and we worked together and lived together, and that was what allowed us to kind of make it through all that.
That's incredible,
phenomenal.
man.
Thanks.
You got you really it's almost you struck while the iron was hot, but you also struck while the iron was hot, when it came to your creativity and just luck. When luck was there, it was a perfect storm.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it was all a bunch of Pennsylvania shit for us. We grew up in Scranton. Our families are connected to each other. We grew up working, the same jobs together, and just kind of that I don't know what I would call it, but it is it's a familial aspect to the entire thing.
Absolutely.
So the Menzingers is a band of childhood friends, correct?
Yeah, but basically, yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. That's great, and I think that builds a really good connection, gives you guys great chemistry, and I think you were saying, you're all very like-minded on everything and had the same goals, and I think that can be a huge benefit when you have 4 people working towards the same goal, putting in 100% effort.
Yeah, we had our ups and downs, and we relied on each other and helped each other out, and we're really fucking lucky in that regard.
Yeah, that's great. So you guys have 7 full-length albums now, or is it 8?
We have 6 full-length albums.
6 full-length.
Yeah.
Okay. 6 full-length albums, a couple of EPs.
Yeah, I guess technically we have 7. One of the records is a reworking of another record that we put out during the pandemic. So I guess technically there are 7 full-lengths out.
Okay, gotcha. So in that time, you've worked with several producers as well, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
So what would you say is your favorite album, or maybe your favorite song to perform live?
At the it changes all the time. And I expect that it will always change. Right now, at this second, my favorite song to play live is a tie between 2 of them. One of them is called Charlie's Army, which is off of our record After the Party. Yep. And Last to Know, which is also off our record After the Party. So recently we've been playing those 2 at these shows, and they're so goddamn fun. I fucking love it, yeah.
That's great, man.
It's
good
so
crowd
cool
engagement.
to hear an artist describe their own song, because, you see interviews with other bands, and they're just oh, man, I know everyone wants to hear this song, so we're gonna play it. But my favorite song is this, and it's the song that you're oh, that's the song I skipped.
Yeah, and I totally get that. Thankfully we love our songs. That's why we wrote them. But it is totally we've been playing the same songs for a long time, so it can get a little bit monotonous. But as soon as you get up on stage and you make so many people happy by playing the song, you can't fucking deny that.
Yeah, exactly.
Gets the blood going.
Yeah, totally.
What role does storytelling play in your songwriting, and how do you approach writing about your own life experiences?
It's an interesting question, man. Yeah, so I think the older that I get, the more I'm realizing that no matter what it is, I had always had this compartmentalization in my mind between stories, myths, legends, and then science or the scientific method and the way that we test things rationally. And I'm starting to realize that all of them are all a story of their own, and that the way that humans communicate ideas, emotions, anything is via a story. So even if you're talking about these are the results of this experiment, it's it's still a story in itself. And started to realize that the way to relate a lot of emotions or experiences across is to tell a story. I mean, it's been that way since the beginning of humans, as far as I think a lot of anthropologists are concerned. And the way that we like to incorporate that into the songs and to kind of mix the 2 questions together is we do it autobiographically, but also not. So pull some, the idea is like the dates and the names are changed, like some of the aspects are different, and there's always a bit of truth in there.
Sure.
Not necessarily this happened on Sunday, May, whatever, but that it is an experience or a shared story that happened between people, and that's kind of the same message that we're trying to relate across.
That literally stems right into my next question.
I'm sorry if you have another question.
Just because it pairs very well, I think.
Go for it.
So your music has been praised for how raw and honest it is and its emotional depth. How do you balance being vulnerable in your lyrics while still maintaining a sense of privacy and personal boundaries?
That's a good question. One of the main things would be to never say what's true and what's not in the songs.
Admit nothing, deny everything, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, then you can deny everything, and then you can also, you're not revealing too much. But it feels like a lot of bands have a shtick, and a lot of art has shticks. Maybe has a negative connotation to it, but some bands write songs about, I don't know, certain exact things, or they have concepts that live within certain stories. Like my friend who's from Harrisburg, one of my best friends, was explaining to me the Coheed and Cambria kind of like universe. They have like this whole storyline. I thought that was really cool. And our story is always just a reflection of ourselves and what we're going through in our lives at that time or what we've seen. So that's kind of like holding the mirror has been our shtick, so to say.
That's awesome.
Trying to be really personal about it. And you're right, it can get a little weird. Thankfully, we consider ourselves very down to earth, and our fans are extremely down to earth in all of our experience. We never really had issues with anybody getting too personal, or there's some people get a little bit very emotional or vulnerable themselves, and that's a great thing sometimes.
Absolutely. I mean, if you can write something and you see it touch someone that personally, like that deeply,
absolutely.
I feel like that's the best compliment you could get as a musician. Is like, I actually touched you with my art.
It is. I mean, I've had people come up and tell us about, dealing with a death in the family or dealing with some type of incredibly difficult, emotional, personal experience that they can barely handle, and then tell us that our music helped them get through that. That's like the best thing you could hear from it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So back to Alan's first question, my question about it, your songwriting process and the things you write about. Do you think your band, the Menzingers, and the way you write, do you think you do something different than most other bands do to write the way that, to not kind of repeat myself and sound stupid, but yeah, to write the songs the way you do?
I'm not sure. It seems like from talking to other songwriters that we do a lot of the same things.
Mm-hmm.
As far as like workflow goes, the four of us sit in a room together and write, and that isn't always the case. A lot of times in other bands, there'll be one or two people that kind of write everything and then show it to everyone else, or they kind of
that's how
work
I've
on
always
it.
That was always my experience. But you
Sure.
got to do like the think tank.
We do
style.
the think tank,
and I've always wanted to do that, and I've never been blessed to be in a project that everyone was like available at the same time, or even wanted to do that. It was always like, hey man, like
Sure.
I wrote this song, like guys look over it. Do you guys think we can use it? And I'm like, I mean, I guess it's angry or sad enough, we can work with it.
Yeah.
I can scream about that, I guess.
Yeah, no, man, we look at it as a job. Like it's that whole thing I'm talking about Scranton before, or the descendants of the coal miners like to think of it. We go to work every day, and sure, we take our fucking time. Don't get me wrong. If we're having a day, we'll take a day off, no problem. But we go and we meet up, the four of us together, while we're writing every day during the week, and just sit there for hours and work on the songs.
That's incredible.
So speaking of writing, you just had a single come out recently. Is there going to be an album following that you're willing to talk about?
So what just came out was a B-side from our last record that we did in collaboration with the Eagles, which was pretty fucking cool.
What?
Dude,
Yeah.
what?
It was released as a part of a program they were doing where every week they would release a song from a Philadelphia artist with a poster design with another Philadelphia, like a visual artist. And yeah, we did that, which was pretty fucking wild.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I can't talk much about it, but we did. I have been saying it on stage every night. We did finish writing and recording a record, so it's done.
That's
And,
awesome.
we're in
So
the
there is
process
new
now.
music on the way.
There's new music on the way. Yeah.
That was one of my questions. Was what's coming new for?
Yeah,
what
totally.
can people expect? But
I can't get into all the details of it, but I can say it's done.
so I got to
great.
ask though, real quick, and I'm sure you've gotten talked about this many times, COVID. But I want to ask only because the way you describe your guys' work ethic, the way you guys attack music, the way you guys treat it so seriously, what was COVID like for a band that like literally lives and breathes writing the music? I mean, how did you guys process that? What was that experience like for you guys?
Yeah, we all had. Well, we were in it together. Some of us had different responses to how we interpreted the, barrage of conflicting information that was provided from everywhere on fucking Earth.
Yes.
And we all made it through. But we immediately were like, okay, well, this is our job, so we can't not work. We can't lose all of our money. And we also, this is what we do. We can't, not be doing something. So we immediately we made a Patreon, which was a fun thing where a bunch of our fans paid a monthly fee to be a part of like a club kind of, and we put out podcast episodes and made videos.
Oh wow!
And released
awesome.
kind of unreleased stuff. And we had a Discord. We still have the Discord server, and we still have the Patreon, but we don't have the the same active stuff that we were doing previously. And then we also immediately decided to rework a previous record. So what we did was everyone set up a studio in their house. This is in the early days, like the now of 2020, the May time. And dropped off microphones to each other, and we got on Slack, which is like a inter-office communication thing to replace email. It's like a chat room, basically.
Okay.
And we used that to re-record the record that we had put out before that, re-envisioning the songs, acoustic and electronic, and just differently. And we would just work on that every day, fucking online during the pandemic.
So you guys weren't even worried as an artist about live. I mean, I'm sure you were, but really your focus was music is going to prevail regardless, and we're going to be part of that contribution one way or another.
Sure. Yeah, we had no idea. Nobody knew what was going on. We didn't know if people we knew were going to start dropping, certainly we thought it was going to be a lot worse than it ended up being. Not that it wasn't bad. It's a terrible thing for society and for the people that were affected so tragically. But yeah, we knew, music wasn't going anywhere. It didn't seem like we weren't worried. We were just waiting till it was safe to tour again. One of the first places that we played back was here at HMAC, actually.
Oh, wow.
One of
Really?
the tours. Yeah, one of the early tours.
That's awesome.
It sounds to me like you guys have one hell of a work ethic. You kind of mentioned that, from Scranton, the coal mines, you get up, you go to work.
Yeah, that's this cheeky story I'm trying to tell there. But yeah, no, we do. I would say that we do.
Yeah, I mean, so during lockdown, you guys reimagine your album, and it sounds like you produced it yourself as well, correct?
We did. Yeah, we produced it, and then Will Yip, who had produced and engineered the record before that, mixed it for us.
So you just recorded it, produced it, and then sent it to him and had him mix it?
And we were each on a different DAW, so like a digital audio workstation. I was using Pro Tools. Two of the guys were using Logic. Somebody was using Ableton.
Oh, boy.
And we ended up kind of, I'd worked as an engineer on records before, and I produced a couple EPs and stuff. So I was familiar, and so were some of the other guys. Some of the other guys were not familiar, so it was like a learning process for everyone, too.
Well, yeah, I mean, none of those systems are easy to use. I mean, you can't just pick it up and be like, all right, cool, this is it.
It was a
know?
blessing in disguise, though, because with our record that we just recorded, we were able to demo it in our own studio, and we wrote that way. We wrote a lot in the box, like in the computer, so to speak.
Yeah.
See, I would have been kicked out immediately. I can't even use Discord. Some of my friends want me to play online, and I get so frustrated by Discord. So, if I was in a band and that happened, all right, man, so we're going to set you up like a recording studio and you're going to do all this, I would have been like, yep, I'm out. I don't even know. I don't even know where to start.
One of us isn't ready for something like that, or whatever it is, the other three of us drag them kicking and screaming.
That would have been me.
We always would have made it.
It's like
you're going to learn the technology.
Or whomever, yeah. You're going to figure it out.
I literally describe people. I'm 33 going on, get the hell off my lawn. That's literally how I handle everything. I'm like, oh, technology's changing. I'm like, no. That's how I am.
Oh, man. So, I mean, you've been playing around the area a lot. I'm sure you've played Harrisburg a lot. What are some of your favorite venues in the central Pennsylvania area?
So, definitely, this is, I should start by saying HMAC is one of my favorite venues in the entire country and world. I fucking love this place. The venue is awesome. The way it's decorated is really cool. The first floor where they have the bar, the pinball machines, the restaurant, where you just seem to be allowed to exist. It's kind of got a communal vibe to it.
Yeah.
Open early. It's just it's a vibe that I really, really like. It's something that I really appreciate when venues are like that. And everybody who works here is fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
And it's 2 hours from Philly, so sign me up.
Yeah, it's a quick drive down the turnpike.
Not even far.
Yeah. That's great. Wow. All right. Well, HMAC, thanks, guys. You guys are doing a great thing.
Yeah. But besides that, in central Pennsylvania, we haven't played too many shows in central Pennsylvania. We've done some shows at State College.
Okay.
Where we played at the there's the student center there. I forget what it's called. There's all fish tanks and shit in there. Yeah, we played at the Bryce Jordan Center with Rise Against before.
Nice.
We played at a house
that's
venue
awesome.
for Cherry Darling Presents. It's like a house on the outskirts of the city. And growing up, I'd gone to the Crowbar to see a couple big punk shows.
Wow.
And I think we played at the Championship in Lemoyne.
The Champ right across the river there.
Yeah, which
Love
was
that.
a big venue down here.
You know what's really
It
funny? We were actually supposed to interview someone else today as well. They were the owner of the
Oh, no
championship.
shit.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I mean, we have to reschedule that, and that's fine. But it was I just think it's really funny that you happened to bring that up. Yeah,
Yep.
that was my home.
Yeah.
And that's where I discovered like live music for like that's what it means for like people go to shows. Like I didn't know what that meant, and then like I was like, I think I want to do this, and then I did. I taught
Here you
myself how
are.
to do
Very
it.
inspirational. So what would you say is your dream venue, like Madison Square Garden or like Sydney Arena? Or
I don't know. Those ones, I don't know how well they lend themselves to that kind of, like a punk band from
Yeah.
Philly to play at the Sydney Opera House. But so we did the Roundhouse in London, which was a huge, big fucking deal.
Oh my
And then
God,
some
yeah.
of the big venues, I would like to do some Man Center or like I want a big outdoor show in Philadelphia would be really fucking cool. Or
That'd be
the
sweet.
Stone Pony Summer Stage in Asbury Park would be.
Yes.
Those are,
New Jersey,
if I had
right?
to answer real quick, those would be like the dreams. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
That's
That'd
awesome.
be sweet.
Yeah. That'd be really fucking cool.
Yeah, man.
So I got to ask, what advice would you give to people that are listening to this episode right now that they want to do exactly what you're doing? They're trying to achieve the same level. What's the one piece of advice or like the golden piece of advice that you could give anyone that's trying to achieve this dream?
Practice. I can't give a couple different advices, but the main one would be practice. It's really easy to get lost in looking up TikTok advice and learning about music publishing or kind of wrapping your head around which type of gear you need to buy, what ring light you need to do on social media, what new guitar you need. Practice is the most important part because if you're good, and then you add in all the other things like luck and being with people with the same kind of vision as you, that'll work. But if you're not good, it's not going to work out.
Absolutely. I mean,
That's
I can
great
agree with
advice.
that.
Yeah.
Great advice. So,
And it's the one thing that you can do with no money or nothing. You don't need anything to just play.
just time and yourself.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. So what were your thoughts when you first heard about the Central Pennsylvania Music Hall of Fame?
What's that? And I Googled it. And here we are.
Yeah.
My first thoughts were, like I mentioned before, one of my best buds. It's his birthday today. Shout out Dr. Andy Poole. Happy birthday.
Hey, happy birthday.
He grew up here in Harrisburg and has a lot to say about the Harrisburg scene and made me think of HMAC and the people I've met out here and pretty stoked. And Nito Burrito.
Love that
I
place.
don't know if you guys have ever been there.
Oh yeah, I have one half a block from my house. I
No
go.
shit.
Yep.
I was so bummed. Every time we play here, they're just too far away a little
Oh,
bit.
man.
Just a little too far.
It's a little
Just
too far.
that, just
What do you
right
get?
over that threshold.
Cowboy
Yeah.
Crunch, right? Every time.
I don't even remember.
Oh,
Yeah,
dude.
I think I got like a build your own one.
Oh
maybe
man,
each
gotta
time.
get the Cowboy Crunch next
All right,
time.
next time I'll get the Cowboy Crunch.
They're
Please.
they give them to you, and they're the weight of a small child. And
Yeah.
You're just like,
Legit.
well, I don't have to eat for a week after I eat this.
Yeah.
Like, you're good. Like it's all the calories you need for an entire week.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's the best. It's the best in the area. Well, thank you so much for coming on here, man.
Hey, thank you for having me. This is great.
Of course. I mean, it looks like it's going to be a good turnout tonight. You guys are going to rock the stage up there, and we're really looking forward to that.
Awesome.
It was an absolute pleasure, man. Thank you so much
Cheers.
for taking the
Oh,
time.
yeah, thanks for having
Thanks
me.
so much.
Not a problem,
Appreciate
man.
it.
Enjoy
Thank you.
your
Of course.
Europe tour. Be safe out there and have a whole lot of fun for us, all right?
Thank you.
We'll see
try.
you when you come
All right.
back through the next time.
Yes,
awesome.
sir.
We'll see you then.
All right. Thank you.